Have you done multiple food sensitivity tests, but every time you get a different test, your results have changed and it feels like your health is a moving target where you're never getting real results? Or have you changed your diet a million times? You've tried low FODMAP, gluten-free, dairy-free, elemental diet, paleo, Whole30, and you still have symptoms like constipation, bloating, acid reflux, eczema, or hormone imbalance? Or have you not done any food sensitivity tests because you're maybe a little afraid of what might show up on the test results? If you said yes to any of these questions, this episode is for you. On today's episode, I'm breaking down the fourth layer of the 5 toxin trap that's keeping you constipated, which is food sensitivities. Today, I'm going to be talking about the signs and symptoms that food sensitivities may be what's holding you back from reversing your constipation. 2 common mistakes that are keeping you from healing and reversing your food sensitivities. Basically, 2 mistakes that almost every client I've worked with has made in the area of food sensitivities, and what to do instead to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, end bloating, and feel good. Food sensitivities are an increasing issue among people with gut health symptoms, but a limited diet or a diet with limitations doesn't have to be permanent. Let's dive into how you can finally do food sensitivities right and reverse your constipation and food sensitivities for good. All right, guys, today is episode 4, or the 4th episode. All right, guys, today is the 4th episode in our series on the 5 toxin trap, which if you missed my first episode on this called the push release method, I highly recommend you go back and check it out. I'm going to have the link in the show notes. It's going to be 3 or 4 episodes prior to this called the push release method, and it goes over this methodology that I've been using for 8 years with clients who've had chronic constipation. And when nothing else has worked, the push release method has worked. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know why the push release method is so different than any other thing you've ever done. And let me tell you, it's not going to emphasize fiber, water, magnesium, probiotics. If you're ready for a totally new, different approach to constipation that works, go and check out that episode. But this is the 4th episode where we're doing a deep dive into one layer of the push release method that is so pivotal for our clients, and that is food sensitivities. Now, food sensitivities is a topic that so many people have honestly beaten a dead horse over and over again. It is a topic that you're going to hear about from gastroenterologists and nutritionists and naturopathic doctors. And honestly, it's one of the areas that I find people are most burnt out on and feel the most confused and frustrated and honestly powerless in, because of all the efforts that my clients and many people out there are doing to use this category of healing, and it's still not working. So let's talk about why this is going to happen and what these mistakes are. And honestly, just to begin, how to know if you might even have one of these issues. I'm actually going to show you guys a list. Let's go through some signs and symptoms that I see of having food sensitivities. And these are hopefully a little different than you've seen in the past. Here, we're going to open this up. Hopefully it's a little different than what you've seen in the past. And this is, by the way, coming from my constipation, how I went from chronic constipation to pooping daily. Basically, it's just my ultimate guide on constipation. If you want to get this, go to betterbellytherapies.com/guide or click the link in the show notes and you can grab this. But I'm just going to scroll down here to our food sensitivity section. And just look at the information here. So here we have food sensitivities, and we have it's honestly one of our sections that has the least number of high indicators that this is still an area that's unresolved for you, but is a component of your constipation journey. So just listen to these, or if you're watching on our video, read along with it. But you can tell that this toxin trap of food sensitivity is a part of constipation for you if, number one, you've changed your diet 1,000 times, but you never feel better. Number two, your food sensitivity test results change every time you do a new test. Number three, the number of foods you're sensitive to seems to be increasing. Number four, you're afraid of food and how it will make you feel after eating it. Number five, thinking about what to eat makes you anxious. Maybe you don't know what to eat, or it feels like no choices out there are the right choices. And lastly, you've never taken a food sensitivity test because you're afraid of what's on it. These are all big signs that this category is a big area of issues for you. And one of the things that's interesting I want to point out about this list is that this is not so much focused on, oh, you have bloating, or you get headaches, or all of those symptoms can be symptoms of food sensitivities, but most people, because what I've seen over the last 8 years of working with clients is that people either go from one extreme of they've done everything under the sun with food sensitivity. They've done tons of diets, and they've gone from only eating 10 foods to doing a gluten-free diet to doing a low histamine diet. They've tried everything. Or there's honestly a big fear and an avoidance and saying, oh, I don't really want to do any testing at all. And that's super confusing. And honestly, if you're in that latter category, I want to encourage you. I think that's an amazing place to be, because there can be a lot of chaos and unlearning of bad concepts of how to think about food's role in your healing process that people kind of start to learn or have ingrained in them when they've already done tons and tons of testing. So you are in a good spot. You are not behind if you've never done any food sensitivity testing, but it is a common category of issues that I'm seeing clients deal with. And so these are the signs and symptoms. If you said, wow, yes, a lot of stuff that I heard in there was exactly what you're dealing with, you said yes to a lot of those things, then I want to talk about next the two most common traps that people are making when it comes to healing from this category. So like, why are your food sensitivities increasing? Why do your tests change every time you do them if you've done multiple food sensitivity testing? Why, when you change your diet, do you not get results? So no matter how narrow your diet gets, why do you still have the majority of your symptoms? Maybe you get some moderate relief from symptoms, but it's definitely not full, and it's definitely not permanent. Here's the two big mistakes that you're making. Number one, you're not testing for something called permanent food sensitivity testing. So permanent food sensitivities, it's a summary word I like to use to describe something called protein peptide testing. So most food sensitivity tests only do something called whole food sensitivity, where it takes the whole food of a banana or a piece of corn, how it would show up in your gut, and it tests your body's generic response to it. And this type of testing, you only develop food sensitivities to when there is leaky gut. So when the gut lining that's supposed to absorb all the nutrients, the glucose, the different foods that you have, the different nutrients inside of foods, the proteins, what's supposed to be absorbed into the gut lining, when the gut lining is damaged and there's bigger and bigger holes and gapes into it, you start absorbing things you shouldn't from food. And a lot of times it's undigested particles of food that are larger than normal. So let's say you eat a banana every day and you have leaky gut, and your leaky gut's getting worse. As you eat that banana, then undigested large particles of banana might end up into your bloodstream, especially when you're eating it frequently. Your body will just have that more opportunity for that to happen. And so eventually your immune system inside your bloodstream will tag that banana and say, hey, this is an issue. It keeps ending up in our blood in an undigested format, next time she eats it, you need to tag it and treat it like a pathogen so that we keep it from getting in here again. And so what happens is these are developed food sensitivities. You can see how you go from bananas are fine, leaky gut is introduced, eventually bananas get into the bloodstream, and then your body's now sensitive. It tags it as this is an issue. Similarly, you can reverse these sensitivities. So say you avoid banana for a year because it showed up on one of your food sensitivity tests. Maybe it's Viome or Tiny Health or MRT. These are 3 really popular, common, more well-known brand names of food sensitivity testing that technically qualifies as whole food, or what I like to call temporary food sensitivity tests. So you avoid a banana for a year, you retest. Now it says banana, that you're not sensitive to it at all, but you have a new food that you're sensitive. Maybe it's avocado. And you're like, well, in the last year, I've eaten a lot of avocado because it was on my safe list and I've heard it's healthy fats. And there's all these different things that go on. And so you end up then just saying, well, I guess I can eat banana again. And you stop eating avocado and your symptoms never really go away. And you're just chasing. One of the big solutions and one of the big reasons why protein peptide testing is so revolutionary is that, number one, when you do whole food sensitivity testing, that temporary testing, you never test for protein peptide level testing. So one of the things that's interesting is maybe you're sensitive to banana on a temporary level, whole food sensitivity, and you're not sensitive to wheat. Just happens to be that way. Your body just hasn't tagged wheat and gluten as an issue for you. But on a protein peptide level, which is a more specific, more detailed version of tagging your body does, and it doesn't happen in the bloodstream, it actually happens inside the gut lumen itself. When that happens, then if you don't test for protein peptide, but you're technically sensitive to it, your test will say you're not sensitive to wheat, but you really are. You are actually having a reaction. So what happens when you don't test for both whole food and protein peptide level sensitivity is that you could be missing a big part of the picture and still be eating foods you're sensitive to. So that's number one. The first big mistake is not testing for protein peptide level sensitivity. The only test I know that does this is the Zoomer test by Vibrant Wellness. And we actually had Vibrant Wellness come onto the podcast previously and have a representative come and talk all about the science behind it and how it got developed and honestly just the amazing work that they're doing. Some students some researchers from Arizona State University developed it and made it into a company. It's a great episode if you want to go see it. It's going to be episode 267, the best food sensitivity test for you with Vibrant Wellness. And you can just learn more about it. If you want to learn more about the details and really like how and why it's different than MRT, Viome, Tiny Health, honestly, why it's better, in my opinion, then go and listen to that episode again. It'll be linked in the show notes, episode 267, or you can just scroll back in the history and find it on the podcast. So that's the first trap. The second trap is hyper-focus on food sensitivities. You're like, wait a minute. I thought you said that this is a trap we need to address. Yes, we do want to. As point number one, we do need to address. We need to address whole food, temporary food sensitivities, and protein peptide permanent food sensitivities. We should test for both. We should be aware of both. But the thing that really keeps people stuck in this area is only focusing on this. It is only focusing on food. And there's I think slowly tide turning, but I think it's still a very, very first place people are going to start, which is not bad. It's not bad to start with, hey, let me change my diet and see if my symptoms get better. But if you've been on this journey for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and you've changed your diet a million times and haven't found resolution, guaranteed the issue is not solely with food. If you think about a chair, if you're trying to build a chair that is functional, when you're building it, you can't just say, I'm going to make a chair that stands up with just one leg. That'd be the food sensitivities. Well, I'm trying to make the best one leg ever. If I find the perfect one leg for this chair, it'll stand up. You will never find a perfect enough leg to make that chair stand up. You're going to need at least 3 legs positioned at the right angle, and maybe more commonly 4 legs to have the chair really stand up reliably and functionally. And so the 5 toxin trap is like this, where it's referring to 5 categories of issues that you need to address to eliminate constipation. And by the way, this has worked for many, many other symptoms that we've had clients come in with, everything from acid reflux to autoimmune conditions that people put into remission, chronic fatigue, brain fog, diarrhea, eczema, acne, rashes. It applies to the whole body, but I developed it when I was trying to solve my own constipation. And the first thing that I tested on to see would this process work for others was the symptom of constipation. And so when you hyperfocus and only say, I'm just going to focus on food sensitivities, I'm going to fix my diet until all my symptoms are gone, whether it's constipation, acne, eczema, anything, and then it doesn't work, the issue is that you haven't addressed the other 4 layers of the toxin trap. So you can go back to we have one more episode coming out next week with the 5th layer. You can go back to the previous 3 lessons or three episodes and listen to them and learn more of the 3 common mistakes in every single one. This one actually only has 2 common mistakes. I said 3 earlier. We only have 2 common mistakes for food sensitivities, but that's the main one. That is the main one. And so if you simply just take the lesson and say, okay, I know food sensitivities have a role, I can't ignore them, but they're not the end all be all. And if they haven't worked on their own, that's fine. I can just go and focus on other things. I can go focus on actual pathogens or digestion pathways or heavy metals and mineral deficiency. That's when you're going to start seeing results. So those are two mistakes. So what do you want to do instead? Number 1, do the Zoomer test. And we offer the Zoomer test inside of our program, the Better Belly Blueprint, or if you work with us one-to-one as a VIP client, just go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint and you will be able to join and get access to ordering this lab, saving hundreds of dollars on not just on this lab, but on many other labs. I actually was talking with our sales rep from Zoomer recently. Shout out, hey Michael, shout out to you if you're listening. And he was telling me that we have some of the best pricing on the Zoomer because we are not upcharging people hundreds, if not thousands of dollars like other reps that he's been working with. And so just really amazing work that we have here. So that's the first one, is do the Zoomer test. There are ways to buy it online, but it's not for wholesale pricing. And sometimes it's only portions of the Zoomer test. It's only just the wheat test, not the rest of it, or it's just whole food sensitivity testing, but not protein peptide sensitivity. So be very, very careful out there. And honestly, the best thing I can recommend, join our program, because when you join, you don't just get access to ordering the test at wholesale pricing and honestly saving probably more money than the program costs itself, but you also get the exact detail of how to analyze the lab yourself. So it's worth the value of a practitioner fee. And you also get the exact protocols you need to heal yourself based off of what your labs have found. Just amazing work. So that's number 1, Zoomer test. Number 2, you want to evaluate yourself for the other 4 toxin traps, honestly, all 5, and then test for whichever ones are relevant to you. And actually I have a free tool that I've made recently. If you go to betterbellytherapies.com/trap, let me just even show you guys what it looks like for those of you watching on video. Here we go. betterbellytherapies.com/trap. You're going to pull it up and it is a free audit that you can do just based off of your symptoms. It doesn't, no testing involved. There's nothing that you need to do here. You're going to the first thing you're going to do is share your top 5 symptoms that you're dealing with. You're going to start your assessment and then it'll ask you questions. It's going to take 5 minutes or less to answer all of them. And at the end, you're going to get results. These are just an example of results that you might see. Making sure everybody can see this. All right. And it's going to show every layer of the 5 toxin trap and show how much you've completed of it. The more things you've done or the more answers that you have replied to in the correct way, it might say that, hey, this area of the 5 toxin trap is not actually an issue based off of your symptoms and your health history and the answers that you gave. And you don't even need to focus on this specific one, but really there's going to be 4 other areas that you deal with. And then it's going to show you your next steps, which is specifically what labs correlate with being able to tell you the information you need to know so that the labs can then tell you what specifically are you struggling with in every area of the 5 toxin trap. So you're not guessing, you're actually knowing what you need to do. And then of course, when you join the Better Belly Blueprint, then you get to have the protocols in the exact order to do everything. And if you join group coaching, you can get all the support you need to make sure you can implement this front to end and honestly just see results. The average amount of time it takes for people to see results in this program is 1 month from implementing protocols, which is amazing. We love, love, love seeing it. So that is it for the 5 Toxin Trap. You can go betterbellytherapies.com/trap, get that free audit. And again, just based off the symptoms, and then you'll know what your next steps are. You don't want to just start with the audit and what categories of the 5 Toxin Trap it looks like you're dealing with. You want to actually take that it's a good like guess starting place, and then test for it with actual testing, which we give you access to all the tests you would need inside the Better Belly Blueprint. So lastly, I want to address a question that we get asked a lot, which is, are permanent food sensitivities truly permanent? And the answer up until now is I had not seen anybody reverse things that were in protein peptide level sensitivity. If there was wheat or corn or rice or dairy show up as an issue in peptide level sensitivity testing with Vibrant Wellness, then we were never able to reintroduce it without there being issues. So there'd always be symptoms. However, I have actually recently been the first of all my clients to see that change. So I reversed my dairy intolerance that I've had for 10 years, ever since all my symptoms started this past spring. And so I've been eating dairy probably almost every day again, and had zero issues. My mind is completely blown because this was the first food 10 out of 10 was like, I don't even need a test. I have issues and I feel better when I don't eat it. That I talk about that whole process, how I identified that, what I think was the culminating factors in me being able to reverse this food sensitivity in episode 314, which I will link in the show notes. But until you heal your gut, I wanted to give you guys a couple resources just at the end of the episode of other episodes that I share a lot of my tips and tricks on how to alter your diet, because you can eat on a more restricted diet in a way that's honestly easy and light, without basically eating restricted without feeling restricted. So a couple of my favorite episodes are going to be 171, 3 dairy-free foods for creamy cheese sauces and pizza. Episode 294, my top 5 tips for traveling gluten-free, dairy-free, and grain-free. And episode 295, gluten-free holiday tips, how to enjoy the holidays even when no one else eats like you. And lastly, I just threw into the show notes episode 293, 10 of the best protein powders for gut health that are dairy-free and gluten-free, because we get questions about protein powders all the time. So that is it for today's episode. I hope that was super helpful. I hope it was honestly just affirming if you've had this experience with food sensitivity and restricted diets not healing you the way that you wanted them to heal you, that it's not your fault. You're not doing it wrong. There's no perfect diet you need to like scrounge up other. You don't need to go harder and go thinner and go fewer foods. A lot of times you need to get more specific and address other things, and these food restrictions melt away. We've had one of my first clients that I ever worked with, Abby, she came in and we actually have a podcast episode testimonial from her, which I wasn't planning on sharing this. So I'll add it to the show notes, but it's going to be episode like 6 or something, very, very early on. And when she came to us, she was dealing with really bad sugar cravings and weight she couldn't lose, and an afternoon crash that she was just sick of feeling. And as a mom of a teen and a business owner, she just wanted to be able to function properly. And one of the things that we found on her testing was that she was sensitive to broccoli and spinach, which she was eating every morning, and an egg white omelet, which she didn't realize was causing an issue. So as soon as we took those 2 foods out, her sugar cravings went away. And after we worked with her for 6 months, she reintroduced them and had no problems. So the food sensitivities are not permanent. I used to be on the low FODMAP diet. I'm definitely no longer. I used to not be able to eat dairy, and now I can. So anything can happen, even in the permanent food sensitivity level. That's what I believe. We're still waiting to see those results, and I will be sharing them with you guys as soon as I learn about them and how you can be doing the same thing yourself. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get updates in whatever podcast host you use. And if you don't use a podcast host, you can just subscribe at betterbellytherapies.com/subscribe to get our weekly email update of our podcast episode. I hope this helps you guys so much, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode as we finish up our series on the 5 Toxin Trap. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening, you can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of, and you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.